Oh,
That was quick.
yeah.
Wow. I don't know if it's ever been that quick.
Well, it happens. Good service today.
I thought you were going to go with something
Yeah.
else.
You
You all know what, where we're going. Maybe do, maybe don't. I don't know. We're just going to leave it there. Leave it on the table.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Put it down for you to pick it up later.
Anyways, so we've had a lot of conversations, and we always have conversations. We enjoy conversations. But some of the topics that have been, we'll say, brought up, one of them was about canned pork. This is like kind of random, but not random, but it's leading towards what we're calling the 80-20 rule, which I'm sure you all have heard of. But we feel as though it's been misconstrued or misinterpreted in how you're actually supposed to follow the 80-20 rule. But on a side note, let's start with the canned pork. So it was funny because we had seen canned pork at, it was either Costco or Sam's Club. And I was like, ooh, like the macros, like they're decent, high in protein, low in fat. As we all know, like sometimes we don't have the time to cook. And so we wanted to see like, oh, like what are some great high protein options that would be
Fast, convenient.
Yeah.
Shelf stable. So like put it in the pantry. Don't have to worry about it.
Exactly. So we had used it. It actually wasn't bad. It didn't crisp up like I was hoping, kind of similar to like how carnitas would do, but it was a great convenient option. Was able to jazz it up with a little bit of a sugar-free barbecue sauce, and we had put it inside. We were testing out some counter tortillas, which were actually pretty solid. They had a pretty good chew to them, similar to your traditional tortilla, but they were higher in protein. But anyways, it raised the question of, it's like, why is canned pork or they also have like a canned roast beef, and you've maybe heard of canned chicken. Are those worse than canned tuna?
Yeah. So it's funny.
Like,
People
do
got
you
all-
eat canned tuna?
People got all crazy. It's like, I can't believe you're eating canned meat. And so like my response was like, do you like tuna? They're like, well, yeah. It's like, that's canned meat. And to some degree, like most people are more sensitive to fish. So it's funny that like a meat that people are like leery of, because there's a lot of people like, I don't eat fish. I mean, but I'll eat tuna. So it's like, well, how is that okay? Whereas like you'll eat steak, but you won't eat the canned meat. So it's just
yeah.
funny observation.
Food for thought. But anyways, we wanted to talk about the 80-20 rule. And one of the reasons I would say like this had gotten brought up, because there's a lot of, we'll say, jazz and talk about like nutrient dense foods or clean eating. And as you may or may not know, like we are very big in how we label things, things such as like good and bad, healthy, unhealthy. And one of the reasons why we're so big on this is because words matter. And if you think about even like the way that you talk to yourself internally, if you screw up, you're like, man, you stupid idiot or whatever, like that's really negative on yourself. And it really creates a negative dialogue if you didn't know. And so similar to like foods, if you're labeling foods as like good or bad, this can develop different types of, we'll say, negative relationships that you have with food. And so like maybe if you ate junk food or bad food a couple days in a row, then you're like, oh, I'm such a bad person because I ate bad food. And it's like, no, you're not a bad person. You just made a decision to eat those foods, which may or may not have made you feel physically a certain way and or mentally a certain way.
And sometimes you don't necessarily like, you may not be sitting there saying like, oh, I'm a bad person.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes the power in words is that you don't realize how they weigh on you subconsciously. So if you are associating the foods that you're eating as bad, that will wear on you. So maybe you're not sitting around saying like, oh, I'm a bad person. But if you're saying, hey, all I've been eating is bad stuff, eventually that does wear on you and it starts to pull you down in the way you view yourself. Because by saying I choose to eat these things, you're also saying that like you don't feel like you make good decisions. And if you don't make good decisions, then how can you be in control of situations? So like it all sounds like little things, but it adds up to be very big on how you view yourself.
Yeah. And so when it comes to the 80-20 rule, you may have heard where it's like, well, I eat good 80% of the time. Hear that. I eat good 80% of the time. And the other 20% of the time, I just eat junk food or eat bad food or eat whatever it is that I want.
And a lot of times that's typically it's like, oh, during the week I'm good. On the weekends, I don't necessarily like I don't do good, or I have extra things, or I enjoy treats, or whatever it is. And it's like, oh, so most of the time I'm good, some of the time I'm not.
And the unfortunate part is that you have the wrong relation with that. Again, or the wrong unit of measure is what we're saying.
Your body doesn't work that way. It's not necessarily like it doesn't run off how much time you spend doing something. So you can't say, oh, most of the time I make really good decisions and some of the time I don't, because like some of the time a bad decision can completely wreck everything else, or making a different decision, right? And so it's like 80-20 works really good as a percentage of overall in regards to your
calories and intake.
Yeah. So if it's like, all right, cool. 100, like if you were to use easy numbers, like 100% of my calories for the day would be 2,000 calories. And if I have 400 calories out of that 200 as bad food, then like it doesn't really make a difference, because 80% of everything else that you're eating is whole, nutritious, good, and moving you in the right direction. And so like the percentage of what you're putting into it, yes, but in regards to the amount of time that you spend doing something, that's not really a good unit of measure, just because of how far you can move the needle in a short amount of time when it comes to your intake.
Very like, so, and this is where that relationship, as he was saying, where it's like, okay, like during the week, I eat clean, I eat good, I do whatever. And then on the weekend, I fuck off, or I eat bad foods, I overconsume or whatever. And so those 2 days or 3 days, however you define your weekend, can really throw you off plan and put you over that maintenance, or your normal amount of calories that would allow you to stay at your same weight very, very quickly, depending on the foods that you are consuming. And that's why the time will screw you.
Think about how long it takes you to eat a salad versus how long it takes to eat 2 Oreos. Like if it was based on time, then it's like,
goodness gracious,
great. But like it may take, someone 5 to 10 minutes to eat a salad and 30 seconds to eat 2 Oreos. But like there's a good chance, depending on the salad, that they're comparable in calories. So like the time spent is irrelevant. It's more about taking a look at what actually matters towards building the life, the body, the relationship that you want with food.
Yeah. And so when it comes to the 80-20 rule, like, of course, we're always going to encourage you to figure out what works for you. Because, for instance, yes, can nutrients dense foods that are ingredients versus have ingredients, or like whole foods, can they make you look and feel better? For sure. Yes, they can. They can fill you up. They have lots of micronutrients in them. They are phenomenal. But sometimes, like, as we have found, if you are consuming, like, that's all you consume, and that is what you control, we have found that working with people throughout these many, many, many years, that when they do go and make the decision to go out to eat, if they consume something that is bad or junk food, their body reacts horribly. And like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just they've eaten so well for months, for years, whatever, that when they introduce something that their body hasn't had in a really long time or is unfamiliar with, it doesn't know how to respond. So it doesn't know how to process it.
It's very similar to if you've had a time where it's like, oh, I'm going to stop drinking, and you start drinking again, your tolerance is really low. So it doesn't take as much alcohol to have a positive or a negative effect, depending on how you look at it, right? And so the same thing, if like, and I'm sure some of you have experienced like, Whole30 or something, where you do something that's very clean for a certain amount of time, and then you introduce one of your old favorite treats, or it's like you've eaten all fresh organic food, you're crunched for time, and you run and get something from the a fast food joint, and then it's like, oh man, it made me feel like crap. And it's just because you've pushed it out of your system for so long that your body has a hard time understanding what to do with this, or your tolerance is now really low for those types of things. So like, if it's something that you want to have those every once in a while on a regular basis, it's actually, more beneficial to have it introduced regularly. So that way, when you do have it, you can enjoy it without the negative side effect. I was joking the other day, similar to this, is like, it's almost like getting, I know, for lack of pissing everyone off, like a flu shot or vaccination, right? It's like you're exposed to this on purpose so that your body knows how to handle it when it is exposed. So like that intentional exposure will benefit you both short and long term, if you choose, right?
Yeah, we don't get flu shots, but even like allergies. When, like, if you think about like an allergy, I mean, allergies would be kind of like the opposite effect, because the more that you get exposed, the worse it is for you. But this is where it comes down to evaluating what it is that you enjoy and want in life. And if you didn't realize, we are massive on mindset and bringing these types of questions, and increasing your awareness about these things, because our goals and the life that we lead is very different, than what you want in and out of life. And so, like, if you're a person who doesn't like or want to or have the desires to go out to eat, or you do go out to eat but you like choose to not partake in the food, like, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But if you're a person who's like, hey, you know what, I like to go out once a week, I like to have a drink here and there, then it's up to you to figure out and see if it's worth taking the time of like, okay, like, I enjoy one drink a week, I enjoy one drink a day. When I do that, how do I feel? How do I look? Am I moving towards my goals? Am I moving away from my goals? Because, like, we only get one life to live.
Oh, soap
And
opera.
is that's a soap opera
Yeah,
name, right?
yeah.
Okay. It did sound familiar. I've never seen it or heard of it.
Sure.
But anyways, we only get one life to live. And it's up to you to decide. Oh my God, I can't even speak right now.
Yeah.
How you want to live that life.
Tongue-tied Tuesday.
Because, like, I will tell you right now, like, I love whole foods, I love nutrient dense foods, but like, I also like sweets. But I do know that if I overconsume sweets on a regular basis, my body feels like shit. And so then it comes down to deciding, okay, how often do I want to incorporate sweets in a way that also still allows me to feel good and perform in the way that I want and look in the way that I want, while still being able to enjoy that within my intake. And if it comes down to where it's like, oh, my body, for whatever reason, has a horrible negative relationship with sweets, then it's like, okay, well, is eating that sweet worth the effects that I get? Or can I perhaps maybe have an alternative that I get that same feeling and satisfaction from, that, but my body doesn't have that same negative reaction? Does that make sense?
So you're supposed to some degree, it's almost like, at each, phase or journey or different chapters, you come to different crossroads of like how you want to enjoy life. And if that is like, oh, enjoying sweets, and it has no negative side effect, great. You can travel down that road for as long as you want until you reach another fork in the road. That's like, oh, maybe I am having a negative response to this. And then you get to choose, like, do I want to continue incorporating these things and potentially having that negative side effects? Like, I know, a couple of you have food sensitivities. It's like, oh, like, I really want to eat tacos, but tacos fuck me up, right? Where it's like, so you get to choose, like, do you want to eat those tacos and feel like shit? Or do you want to have life without tacos? Like, up to you. Or do you want to have them every once in a while? If so, what does that look like? Or is there an alternative to tacos that you can enjoy without the negative side effect of feeling really bad? But ultimately, like, our goal here is to give you as much information as possible. So that way, whenever you're at those crossroads, like, you know which road you want to travel down, or you have the ability to make your own decision and move forward. And you don't need people or someone telling you what to do for the rest of your life, because you know how to make these decisions on your own. So it's always taking a look at, all right, what are the things that I want to accomplish? How do I want to accomplish it? How do I want to experience life? So you can make it happen. And if that is including treats, it's like, all right, cool, treats or drinks or something that other than whole foods, cool. How do I want to enjoy this in my life? How can I make that happen? And the same goes for the opposite. If you're someone that's like, hey, look, like, I really want to just live a super clean life and eat nothing but whole ingredient or nutrient dense foods, how can I do that? What does that look like? And building that life for yourself, and really just like taking the time to build a relationship that you want to have with food, versus feeling like you have to be shoved into some box. Because, like, the reality is that everyone will have different preferences. So we want to be able to give you the information so, like, you can learn how to make these decisions for yourself, and like not let anyone try to shove you in a box or say, hey, this is how you have to do it if you want to be successful.
Yeah. So create that blueprint for you that works for you in your life, and be aware of what it is that you want in life and how you feel. But yeah,
a lot of times it's a lot simpler than you think. So many people get caught up on little things or these nuances that that don't really make a big difference. So think about things a lot more simply. It's like, all right, cool. How do I want to do this? How can I understand kind of the fundamentals of these things? So that way I can do it in the simplest, easiest, most sustainable way.
Yeah. But that about covers our view and interpretation of the 80-20 rule. So as just a short little recap, it's not about time, it's about percentage of overall calorie intake that you should be focusing on versus the amount of time that you spend doing something.
So if you are going to apply the 80-20 rule, then 20% of your overall calories, like you can have with, whatever it is that you want to enjoy, not necessarily worry about, the nutrients that you're getting from them, because the 80% will make sure that your body has what it needs to operate really well. And think about it as a whole. It doesn't necessarily mean like just day to day. That as a whole, 20% of your overall intake is really easy to be able to enjoy a lot of freedoms when it comes to the things that you like.
And quick side note, but otherwise we'll go on a tangent again. Like with that, when you're thinking about like 80% of it, like that may or may not work for you. So once again, as you begin to incorporate those things, maybe your body operates better off 70% of the time or 90% of the time. Sorry, not time. Percentage of calories.
And so it's and figuring that out for yourself. That is more of like a general rule of thumb for like, hey, the reality is like, in order to keep and maintain like prioritizing your health, making sure that you're eating things that complement long-term health,
Yes.
right? So as long as that maintains a priority, and obviously like 80% is a good way to make sure that you're always it's a priority for you.
Mhm.
You can drop it down and see what like the minimum threshold for you is. And I'm sure you guys have saw by watching us. Sometimes that's what we like to do. See how much we can get away with.
We test our bodies and push our bodies to the limit.
Yeah, to be able to see like, all right, cool. What's a percentage that we enjoy and that actually works for us? So we don't have to live by some weird construct.
Yeah, because even like for right now, so just started, we'll say a cut, an actual, so which is phase 2, focus phase. So if you are going through the focus phase right now, you know what we are talking about. But the reason why I'm going back through this is because like I've dropped down the amount that I'm working out per week, which then means I have to figure out, okay, like if I'm moving less, what's my calorie intake look like, and seeing how my body responds. How do I want to live life? Once again, testing and retesting as life continues and moves on. But we didn't have any questions this week. Be sure to submit a burning question if you have a burning question in your butthole that you need answered or whatever. Or if you are feeling stuck, please apply for a breakthrough session, because the only way that we know how to help or can help is if you communicate and talk with us. But we love the recipes and the encouragement that we are seeing in the community. Love seeing you guys check in and keep moving forward and overcoming the obstacles kind of that we've been seeing through it. But yeah, we love you. We will see you next week. If there is a particular topic that you would like us to talk about, post it in the Fit Foodie fam community, because we like talking about this stuff and analyzing and testing and retesting, because that's the only way that we can learn and grow. But see you next week.